Hello friends, welcome to Learning Sessions, and in this video we are going to talk about the very important concepts related to the CAIIB. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, do subscribe the channel at the earliest and press the bell notification icon so that you get updated whensoever we upload the new videos over there. And let me tell you one thing, if you want to get the free PDFs for the CAIIB, in that case particularly visit the link that is available on the screen right now, and also you can actually be downloading the PDFs. Just WhatsApp us writing #CAIIB PDF and WhatsApp it to the number 83609444207 and we will be sharing the free PDFs link to you. So do hurry up and do join the courses, and that will be related to this. So do watch this video till end because this is actually a game changer video for you.
Next it is regarding control over banks. Control over banks. So licensing of banking company, we already read that section under section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act. The Reserve Bank of India has the authority to give the license and to commence business, banking business in India. Every bank, every company requires to obtain a license from the Reserve Bank of India so as to start the banking business. Then it is a discretion of the Reserve Bank so as to give that it can give license or not. It depends on the discretion of the Reserve Bank of India. So while granting the license by the Reserve Bank of India, it is subject to the conditions which are imposed by RBI, and only if those conditions are satisfied, Reserve Bank of India will give the license under section 22. Okay. So RBI has to be satisfied regarding the inspection of books, that whether it is in a position that it can pay the present or future debts, or it can pay the present or future depositors, you can say, because for a bank, the deposit is what? Deposit is a liability which is to be paid off, and a loan is an asset. Okay, so for bank context, we can say the deposit is a liability and loan is a asset. Loan is an asset. So, okay, so the Reserve Bank of India has to make it very clear that the banking industry to which it is going to grant a license, it is in a position so as to pay its present and future depositors in full. Okay, and whether the affair of the company, it is also to be satisfied under the effect that whether the banking company to which the license is to be given, it is having the affairs which are conducted in a way that is not detrimental to the interest of its present and future depositor. तो ऐसा कोई कामकाज, ऐसी कोई ट्रांजैक्शन, ऐसा कोई तरीका नहीं अपनाया जा रहा है उस कंपनी के द्वारा जो कि आने वाले या फिर जो इस टाइम पर डिपॉजिटर्स हैं उनके हक में ना हो. Okay, it should not be there. And further, whether the company is having the adequate capital structure and earnings prospects. तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि जो कंपनी है उसके अर्निंग प्रोस्पेक्ट्स जो है वो बहुत छोटे हैं. क्या उसके फ्यूचर तरीके रहेंगे, क्या उसकी मेथोडोलॉजी रहने वाली है, वेदर जो पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट है, इट इज सर्व्ड बाय ग्रांट ऑफ लाइसेंस टू द कंपनी और नॉट. So see, whenever a company is licensed by Reserve Bank of India, Reserve Bank of India may have its own conditions apart from these conditions that we mentioned here. So whether considering the banking facilities in the proposed area, so potential for expansion, is there any potential or not? So what are their future plans? All these things are needed to be analyzed by the Reserve Bank of India. And also they check the monetary stability and the other parameters regarding the economic growth, if it is possible or not, so as to it is possible or it would be in interest of the public. Next it says that we already read about section 11 of the Banking Regulation Act. That Banking Regulation Act section 11 states that there is minimum capital and reserves requirement, but before licensing, before granting any kind of license, RBI may stipulate a higher requirement also. And if RBI has stipulated a higher requirement for capital and reserve requirement, the bank which is to be licensed is to fulfill that requirement. Now, it could be the case regarding if a license has already been granted to a banking company, it could be cancelled. So it is regarding cancellation of license. So RBI may cancel the license on the grounds so as a banking company to whom the license has already been granted, it could be the case that it ceases to carry on banking business in India. That it ceases to carry banking business in India, or it could be the case that the banking company has time to time failed to comply with the conditions or the terms that RBI may have already stipulated to it. Okay, so if RBI has imposed any kind of conditions, if RBI has given any kind of directions, and the banking company is failing many times or fails many times, in that case the license could also be cancelled. Further, the company does not fulfill at any time any of the conditions referred. It could be the case that any of the conditions which are referred to as per before giving the license to the banking company, it could be the case that the banking company does not fulfill that. In that case, the license could also be cancelled. Further, before cancellation of a license, so it is in the power of the Reserve Bank of India so as to cancel the license of the banking company for non-compliance. But if it is a case of the non-compliance, the company should also be given a chance to be heard of. Okay, so company has to be given an opportunity for taking necessary steps so as to complying with or fulfilling the conditions. So if there is non-compliance, the banking company which is non-compliant is also to be given a chance. Okay, so exception could be there. And what could be the exception? If the RBI is in the opinion that if there is some delay, then it could be detrimental to the depositors, or it could be detrimental to the banking industry. In that case, the requirement of giving opportunity to the banking company to be heard of or to be given an opportunity, that can be dispensed with. यानी कि उस opportunity को खत्म किया जा सकता है. अगर RBI को ये लगता है कि डिपॉजिटर का इंटरेस्ट उससे और खराब होगा या फिर डिपॉजिटर्स के हित में नहीं है, उसके केस में जो अपॉर्चुनिटी देने का जो प्रोसीजर था उसको खत्म किया जा सकता है, उसमें एक्सेप्शन हो सकती है. Then it is regarding if RBI, let us say RBI cancelled the license of XYZ bank. Okay, now that XYZ bank can appeal to central government, and that appeal can be made within a period of 30 days from the date of order of rejecting the license. Okay. Next it is regarding branch licensing. Very very important. तो यहां से क्वेश्चन बन जाता है. It is important. Okay. So whether a bank is going to open a new place of business or going to change the existing place of business, in that case the prior permission of Reserve Bank of India is required. So banks need to obtain a prior permission from Reserve Bank of India whether they are going to open a new place of business or they are going to change the existing place of business. Okay, so section 23 of the Banking Regulation Act states that no bank shall open a new place of business including any sub office or any extension counter or any pay office or deposits that are being received or checks encashed or money is lent. So section 23 states that without prior permission from the Reserve Bank of India, there is no option with the banks to open any place of businesses as a sub office, pay office, a sub pay office. Okay, at which deposits are received and checks are encashed. But see, one thing is there. If there is change of location of an existing place of business, if there is change of location of existing place of business within the same city or within the same town or village, in that case there no permission is required. So in that case, no permission would be needed in that case. Okay, further, these restrictions are applicable to foreign branches also. तो ये restrictions जो हैं वो foreign branches के ऊपर भी applicable होती हैं. Foreign branches के ऊपर भी applicable होती हैं. अब यहां पर एक चीज हमें देखने को मिलती है. There is one exception in this case, that is regarding we already just read over here that if a branch is going to be shifted from one place to another, then permission is not needed if it is in the same city, town or village. And we also read that if a new extension counter, sub pay office or anything else is to be opened in the same area, in that case permission is required. But see, there is exception regarding if a temporary branch is to be open, that is within the limits of the city. Likewise, if there is some you can say loan mela, or there is some exhibition or conference, in that occasion if a temporary branch is to be open for 1 month or up to 30 days, in that case no prior permission is required. In that case no prior permission is required. Next is regarding in the case of regional rural banks. So licensing की regarding जो permission है, permission for granting the licenses to the bank is given by the Reserve Bank of India under section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act. Okay, but if the license is to be granted to regional rural bank, in that case the application for the permission will be routed through NABARD. So that application for RRB will be routed through NABARD, and National Bank has to give its comment on that why it is needed. Okay. Next point is also very important, that is regarding the paid up capital and reserves. So section 11 also we have already covered that section 11 states the minimum paid up capital and reserve requirements. Okay. So any banking company which wants to commence its banking business has to comply with the requirements of the paid up capital, minimum paid up capital requirements and reserves requirement. And further, the amount stipulated has a reference to place of business. So place of business for this purpose means any office or sub office or pay office, or where the deposits are being received, checks are being cashed and money is being lent. Okay, that is said to be place of business. We mean to say, if we are talking about any kind of branch, we are talking about the place of business. If we are talking about any kind of a sub pay office or extension counter, we are talking about the place of business. Okay. In the case of any dispute regarding computation of paid up capital and reserves of, in that case the decision taken by the Reserve Bank of India would be having the priority, and that will be the final decision which will be taken by the Reserve Bank of India. So we have already read about that the minimum paid up capital requirement and reserve requirement under section 11, but there is computation, that how it is calculated and computed. So first of all, it is regarding the foreign banks. So foreign bank is what? The bank which is incorporated outside India, okay, but it is having operations in India. So foreign bank operating in India, it also has to make deposit and keep deposit with the Reserve Bank of India an amount of rupees 15 lakh. Amount of rupees 15 lakh if it is having business in India, if it is having branches in India, and further if it is having place of business in Mumbai or Kolkata, in that case it has to deposit rupees 20 lakh in the form of cash or unencumbered securities, unencumbered approved securities, or both. Okay, so it could be a combination of both, or it could be entirely the unencumbered approved securities, or it could be entirely the cash only. Okay, for foreign bank which is operating in India, if it is having branches other than in Mumbai or Kolkata, the amount which is to be deposited is rupees 15 lakh, and in other case it is, if it is having branches in Mumbai or Kolkata, it is rupees 20 lakh. So an additional amount of 20%, an amount of 20% of the profit for each year. So business which has been transacted in India by the foreign banks operating in India. Okay, so the deposits, so the profits which is disclosed in the profit and loss account, the profit which is disclosed in the profit and loss account, of that part 20% of the profit is to be maintained, is to be deposited with the Reserve Bank, is to be deposited with the Reserve Bank. So first of all, we read about that foreign banks which are having business in Mumbai or Kolkata have to deposit 20 lakh rupees, and if they are having branches other than Mumbai or Kolkata, then 15 lakh rupees, and other than that the amount disclosed in the profit loss account the profit of 20% is to be deposited with the Reserve Bank of India, and the securities deposited can be replaced by the other unencumbered securities or can be replaced by the cash. Okay, it means to say, if a foreign bank, let us say ABC Bank, is maintaining 20% of the profit in the form of cash or unencumbered securities, okay, these cash or unencumbered security or combination of both can be replaced accordingly time to time. Then it is in the power of the central government to exempt the foreign bank from these requirements, but for this a recommendation of Reserve Bank is required, and it should be on the recommendation of the Reserve Bank of India and for a specified time period only. Okay, so if central government finds it fit that the amount deposited by the foreign bank with the Reserve Bank of India is already adequate, in that case, on the recommendation of Reserve Bank of India, central government may exempt that foreign bank for not depositing that amount for specified period. Then it is regarding the secession of business. On the secession of business, it could be the case that foreign banks which was earlier operating in the India has already ceased its operations in India. In that case, the deposits in any form of assets which the company has already deposited with the Reserve Bank of India, okay, on that case the creditors in India will have the first charge. Okay, so the creditors in India will have the first charge. Who are the creditors? Depositors, investors are the creditors of the bank. Then it is regarding the capital and reserve requirements for the Indian banks. तो इस पॉइंट को ध्यान से समझेंगे, इन पॉइंट्स को यहाँ पर ध्यान से समझेंगे, बिकॉज यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन पैदा हो जाता है, तो इनको ध्यान से समझेंगे. So in case of the banking companies which are incorporated in India, there are minimum paid up capital and reserve requirements. So the condition, first condition, it says if a bank has a place of business in more than one state. First of all, we are talking about if the Indian bank has a place of business in more than one state, multi-state bank hai. In that case, 5 lakh minimum requirement is rupees 5 lakh. And further, if it is having place of business including the states like Mumbai or Kolkata or both, in that case minimum paid up capital and reserve requirement is 10 lakh. So if a multi-state Indian bank is there, if it is operating in banks other than Mumbai or Kolkata, if it is operating in states other than Mumbai or Kolkata, it is rupees 5 lakh, and if it is also operating in Mumbai, Kolkata or both, in that case it is the minimum requirement is rupees 10 lakh. Okay, the second point it is now, if the place of business is only one state, if the place of business is only in one state, then in that case for the principal place of business the requirement will be rupee 1 lakh. Like I say, the bank ABC is operating in Punjab only. Bank ABC is operating in Punjab only. Then for principal place of business, जहां पर इसका headquarter है, where it is headquartered, for that the requirement will be rupees 1 lakh. And further, for any of the branches in the same city or district, for any of the other branches, likewise it has headquarter over here, and for other branches in the same district or city, it will be rupees 10,000 per place of business in the same district if we are talking about. Okay, and for other branches out of the district, if it will be 20,000 over here per branch. 20,000 over here per branch. Likewise, say if we say over here, it is headquartered over here, 1 lakh for that, plus it is having 4 branches in the same district, 40,000 for that, plus it has 4 branches out of the district, it is having the principal place of business, 20,000 each branch, 80,000 for this. So it will be 2,20,000. It will be 2,20,000. Okay. Next case, it says if the bank has only one place of business, the amount is limited to 50,000. अगर सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस का है, यानी कि और ब्रांचेस है ही नहीं है, इफ इट इज हैविंग नो अदर ब्रांचेस but having only one place of business, then the amount is limited to 50,000. Okay, for banking companies commencing business after the commencement of act, the minimum paid up capital stipulation is 5 lakh. So for the branches which have already commenced before this act, this point will be valid, and for the other banks which have commenced their business after the commencement of act, in that case 5 lakh amount is stipulated. Okay, is it clear? Next point, it says if place of business are in one state but one or more of them is in Mumbai or Kolkata. So prior point was regarding if the place of business in one state, if the place of business in one state but not in Mumbai or Kolkata, but now we are talking about that it is one state bank but it is having in Mumbai or Kolkata. In that case, rupees 5 lakh for the principal place of business and rupees 25,000 for the other place of business, and not exceeding rupees 10 lakh. Is it clear? If it is single state bank but it is operating in Mumbai or Kolkata, in that case for the principal place of business rupees 5 lakh and 25,000 for each place of business outside these cities. Okay. That is regarding the paid up capital, subscribed capital and authorized capital. Already we have covered it in section 12. Already covered in section 12 that the ratio of authorized capital to subscribed capital to paid up capital should be minimum 4:2:1. And if the bank is in condition of raising, extra money from the public, in that case this ratio is to be maintained within 2 years. Next, it is regarding shareholding in banking company. Again, very, very important point. Sorry for that. So it says voting rights of shareholders. Voting right of shareholders. So let me explain it to you with an example. So say bank XYZ is over here and is having paid up capital of 1,000 crore. It is having paid up capital of 1,000 crore. Now person A is investor over here and it is having a part of 300 crore out of the total paid up capital, and person B is having 100 crore out of the total paid up capital, and there are other investors among them. Okay. Now, as per the value of the paid up capital, it should have 30% of the voting rights. It should have the 30% of the voting rights, and person B should have the 10% of the voting rights. Okay, it should be the case, but it is not so. Okay, so voting rights can be exercised up to 10% only. Voting rights can be exercised up to 10% only, which may be increased by up to 12% by the Reserve Bank of India. Otherwise, it is 10% only. So whether it is having the shareholding value more than that of the 10%, its voting rights are up to 10% only, which may be increased by Reserve Bank of India up to 12%. Okay, so the voting rights will be 10% maximally, subject to RBI has not increased it to 12%. Next we say restriction on transfer of shares. So there is also a restriction on transfer of shares. It cannot be the case that A is having 300 crore of the share value and B is having 100 crore of the share value, and let us say it want to transfer the shares of value 100 crore to say person C. If any value exceeding 5% of the voting rights, if any value exceeding 5% of the voting rights or more of the paid up share capital, so 5% of the paid up share capital value or voting right value, it is to be transferred, then same is to be referred to RBI first of all, and only after the permission from the Reserve Bank of India this transfer can be made, otherwise cannot be. Okay, so अगर यहाँ पर A के पास 300 करोड़ की पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल के वैल्यू है, ठीक है, एंड यहाँ पर इसके पास 100 करोड़ की वैल्यू है, एंड A यहाँ पर चाहता है कि ये 100 करोड़ की जो वैल्यू के शेयर्स हैं वो C को ट्रांसफर कर देगा. ओके, विच वी से कि यहाँ पर इसकी जो वैल्यू है, वोटिंग राइट्स की वैल्यू है, वो 10% है, एंड फर्दर यहां पर पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल की जो वैल्यू है वो 10% है. इन दैट केस 5% से ज्यादा वैल्यू, सो इट हैज दिस केस हैज टू बी रेफर टू द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल. Then it is regarding the reports on shareholding. So if there is shareholding by chairman, managing director, CEO, in that case that report, that कितना अमाउंट उनके पास शेयर्स का है, that कितना अमाउंट उनके पास शेयर्स का है, what is the proportion of the shares, what is the shareholding value, that all has to be reported to the Reserve Bank of India along with the particulars of shareholding. Okay, and further, if there is any change and any additional data which is related to that shares, which is related to those shares, though that information can also be ordered by the Reserve Bank of India. तो वो information भी यहाँ पर Reserve Bank of India के द्वारा collect की जा सकती है. That information can also be collected by the Reserve Bank of India. Then it is regarding the commission, brokerage or discount. Already discussed this thing, that section 13 of the Banking Regulation Act, it imposes a ceiling on what amount? On the commission amount or brokerage amount or discount amount or any kind of the remuneration of the sale of shares of the banking company. Up to what extent? Up to 2.5% of the paid up value of the share. Okay.
So I hope that you must have liked the content of the video. So if you have liked the content of the videos, do give it a thumbs up, and further do share the video among your friends and colleagues who have been preparing for CAIIB, and do not basically miss the course which is actually available. It's actually a pro course and you need not to go through anything else other than this particular course over there. So do hurry up and enroll in the course right now and start preparing for the same.